could probably spend a lifetime just practicing these lines from these amazing masters. Two things springs to mind when I'm listening to these lines. Joe Henderson, Pat Metheny and Kurt Rosenwinkel connects their lines so beautifully and so smooth, you do not even hear the key change. Modal playing and moving these modal lines through all these chord changes can be a little bit of a brain challenge. And for exactly this reason, I recommend you to grab the deep dive lesson manual on Patreon. Have it next to you when you're watching this video. Stop and go when you feel like it. If there's something that goes too fast, then you can pause and then you can look at it and then you can check it out. You can download the deep dive lesson manual through the link in the description right below. In this video you'll learn how to add these modal sounds into chord changes. Let's start out with the chords, how we can move these modal chords through just normal progressions. But let's not get too theoretical. Start by playing the diatonic chords in the scale. Get the sound of these into your fingers and into your ears. We need to know these chords thoroughly because we want to apply them into our playing right away. Because exactly this is what Joe Henderson is using in his solo on Recorder Me. Basically copy paste. But the interesting part is how he's using them. We'll get into this in just a bit. First I want to show you this in comparison. This is a standard 2-5-1 D minor G7 C. I put the D minor chord on the D minor, the F major chord on the D minor to get the upper structure D minor 9. On the G7 I have added the G7 chord of course and the B half diminished chord to get the G9. And on the C major I have added the C major chord of course and the E minor to get the C major 9. What I wanted to do is compare the Joe Henderson line, so basically these diatonic chords moving down the 2-5-1 D minor G7 C to our 2-5-1 where we're playing these inside chords. And when you look at the Joe Henderson method, they don't really compare to the normal 2-5-1, the basic chords. So what this is telling me is that Joe Henderson looks at the whole scale as a 2-5-1. I really think that he hears these target notes and focus on these to make the whole progression work. And then being able to shift the chords around it just using this pattern. At the end, he's hitting these target notes hard, really resolving into what he wants to hear. And where this really takes an extra leap is between the C major chord and the C minor chord because you're changing the key. And Joe Henderson, cool as he is, he just continues this pattern in the new key. Don't think about what is happening, just play that pattern through. He's almost ignoring the chord progression, but what happens is the melodic line gets so much stronger and he runs smoothly over it. When you hear an idea like this and you really want to make it your own, put it into your own playing as soon as possible. So let's run this through a chord pattern in a 2-5-1. And the line could look like this using different rhythms, playing up these arpeggios. So I basically took the basic pattern, the chords up and down, put them into the 2-5-1. And here you are. So what I do when I apply this into my own playing, I tend to start on something I know that fits the first chord, because that makes it clear. Then I go and go and go, and then I resolve in the last bar to something that's clear. The 9 on the C major. So what happens if the chord changes like in the Joe Henderson example? Let's make a change in the chords. Instead of playing that G7, I want to use the backdoor dominant, the B flat 7. So I'm substituting the G7 with the B flat 7. This means we need to play the E flat major scale to get that B flat 7 into our playing. So do the same as before, get the pattern into your fingers and into your ears that you are able to use it. And the new line could really look like this. I basically take the patterns out of that E flat major scale and copy paste them into my lick. And this way, creating a whole new line with a new sound. Let's move on.
I was very excited by guitar players because I liked the way they played.
And now we're getting to why guitar players are so amazing. The way Pat Metheny is using these modal chords and scale is very similar to what Joe Henderson is doing. I made a new pattern that we can use when we are trying out this Pat Metheny sound. Basic major triad starting on the 3rd going up and down. We start by inserting this pattern into our 2-5-1. We start with something D minor-ish, end on something C major-ish. Now substitute the G7 dominant with the tritone dominant. For this I need the G flat major scale because I have the D flat 7 chord in that scale. So let's trade this scale in the same pattern. And do exactly as before. Insert these new patterns into the bar where you have the tritone substituted chord. In the deep dive lesson manual PDF on Patreon, I have of course added all the examples you're seeing here. But what's really interesting is that I have added lots more. I have basically added all kinds of licks and exercises that takes you thoroughly and slowly, stepwise through this method, substituting the chords and getting into a new way of thinking, but also a new way of playing. Add it directly into your playing right now. Get the deep dive lesson manual on Patreon. The download link is right below in the description. More guitar players coming up. Kurt Rosenwinkel plays so amazingly beautiful lines because he have used this concept on scales. Kurt Rosenwinkel is moving so smooth through these chords. You actually do not hear the chord change, but it's there and it's right there in his playing. Because he thinks melody first, and this way of using scales makes the melody come first. I've just dropped the C major scale over this whole 251. I start with something that sounds like D minor, and I end on something that sounds like C major. It's very basic, I'm just playing the scale up and down. And it does not sound ugly. Actually, it sounds very melodical. It imitates the Kurt Rosenwinkel sound, moving this scale just through the chords. And you get this beautiful continuous melody. In the first half of the second bar, you see that I'm not playing the chord tones of D7. I'm playing from an E, basically a C major 7 going up. But it doesn't matter because the target I'm hitting, that C major, is so strong in the third bar. Our ES just accept this because you're moving towards the strong target and it sounds beautiful. So let's evolve with this phrase and change out some of the chords. Let's exchange the G7 with the D flat 7. Play the D flat 7 scale. So you're playing the G flat major scale, but make it sound like a D flat 7. And remember, get this into your head, your ears and your fingers. I copy some of that D flat 7 scale into the G7 and voila, we have a new line. The only thing I do in that G7 is at some point I change the scale into the D flat 7 scale. I do not think about the target notes or how I move it or anything. I just change the scale. And this gives a very beautiful unbroken melodic line. To make these lines happen, think about the line you want to insert. Think about the key you are in. What tones of the scale are you going to use? Also think about how and where you want this scale to connect from the old material into the new material. How long do we want to play this new scale? And make it very clear for yourself what are your target notes. So when you move from the old key into the new key, what target note is this? Be very aware of how you resolve this line. All these materials plus lots and lots more exercises and phrases are in the deep dive lesson manual on Patreon. And you can easily follow the steps in the deep dive lesson manual to get this into your own play. The approach is fully stepwise and will guide you from the basic stuff into the more advanced stuff. And in this way you can easily embed the sounds, the technique into your ears, brains and fingers. Find the deep dive lesson manual PDF download link in the description right below. I did not mention Coltrane in this video, but he's a huge influence of the three players we have been talking about. So if you want the Coltrane scale method where it all started, check out this video. Play music, have fun.